amazing. So there's a number of sources that you work with, okay? There's a number of beings that you work with. I mean, are you most famous for the P's, or is that just the way I'm hearing it? Or, I mean, yeah, it's such a collection that you work with. So I'm just wondering, yeah, what do you feel you're most famous for?
I think probably the Pleiadian Collective, because they are what people are familiar with when I work with the public. Always in the background, there are lots of other beings. My own guides are there. You and I were talking about this before we went live. I actually work with beings from Arcturus and Sirius. Sometimes they're beings from Lyra, Cassiopeia. It really just depends on what information I'm seeking, what information I need, the frequencies that I need. And I also work with the language of light. So as soon as I started working more and more with that, probably about 6-7 years ago, more of them started showing up in a direct way to kind of lend their energy. If you've ever seen me do any kind of meditation, the Syrians are always the ones who take point on that. Every single meditation that I've been given, that I share, they're the ones who are giving that. So I don't always tell people that, oh, now the Syrians are going to speak, they're going to talk for a while, and then the Pleiadians are going to come in. And kind of the interesting thing is that, when I channel, it's not that energy is coming straight into my body. My energy is going up, their energy is coming down. We kind of meet in the middle, and then I translate and allow that to come, my own energy, to come back through. And sometimes they braid energy. So there might be 3 or 4 guides braiding their energy up top and where we meet. So I'm getting all that data and all that information from all those different guides and then translating it. But I don't always tell you. You might notice sometimes that the energy shifts slightly because some other beings have shown up and kind of lended their frequency to the moment. But it's always a full house.
And I'm just wondering, over the years, has your filter really refined itself so that you can, sometimes you go into that space, you might get a bit fearful, or you might, I think it was one of your channels where I heard the P's particularly say that everybody has an agenda, so that's kind of fascinating to me. So, even if somebody has a good agenda, it's still an agenda that they have, which is different to the agenda that you may have. So I just wondered, over the years, when you've been out there connecting with all these different energies, are you at a place now where if you encounter something tricky, or is it just, is your guidance system really strong now that you feel very safe who you're engaging with, and the information you're receiving is worthy to receive?
Definitely is different than the beginning. The beginning was a big lesson in recognizing frequency. And I was lucky enough to work with 2 other people who also were channeling. So the 3 of us could work together. One person would ask the question, the other person would listen, and the odd man out got to just kind of listen inside. And it was an amazing way to kind of get confirmation on what you were hearing, because the other person would give the same information that you were hearing. And we also were kind of helping each other because the energy would shift and we might not necessarily recognize it immediately. And somebody would go, that feels different. Does anybody notice that the energy's gotten a little heavy? And so it was very, very helpful, but that would happen quite frequently at the beginning until we got really good at holding our resonance and letting go of some of that fear and doing our own inner work. And I think even today, you have to use your discernment. And that's the one thing that the guides taught me early on. It doesn't matter who's giving me information. I have to really see if that sits with me. Is that something that's in alignment with me? Is it advice that I want to take? Because it's really no different than getting advice from a friend. Sometimes the quality of the advice might be great, and at other times, not so much. So we really have to use our own discernment. And I think I'm much better at that today. And part of that is just life experience. As we get older, we are better at using discernment because we've been through situations where we had a sense that, oh, I really should have listened to my intuition in that moment and I didn't. But that's only in hindsight that we can recognize that. So some of that just comes naturally as we get older, I think.
Yeah, it's just that, that meditation I did at the beginning, I've been doing that for a long time in my groups and stuff. And I saw you do a very similar one where you said, because I said it used to say exactly that. And I learned it from an old Reiki teacher who used to say, if it resonates, take it. And if it doesn't, let it go. But it's this whole thing of having absolutely no resistance to what you do not want. Like, there's a tendency on earth that when you see something you don't like, you kind of give out about it, right? And it's happening at the moment. We're all giving out about different things. But I love when I'm in a space where I'm in a really good space and I see something that I'm not interested in. And that's the energy I feel. I'm just not interested in it. There's no rest. There's nothing going on between me and that energy. And then I'm able to say, this is what I want to do, right? And I've heard you say in the channelings, and I've heard it from a lot of teachers, but I think it's a really powerful message that you give absolutely zero attention to the thing you do not want, and you move to the thing you do want. Can you talk a bit about that, please?
Yeah, because the guides say that when there's something that you don't like, you want to make it separate from you. And the moment you want to make something separate from you, you're cutting off source energy, because it is part of source energy. So, if you think about 100% of the bandwidth of source that's available to you, you've just cut it in half. So when you find something that you don't like, the universe wants to heal that. The universe wants to help you to move back to a state of connection. And so it will bring you that reflection of the thing that you don't like until you heal that. So if you don't like something, you're going to stay engaged with it because that level of dislike is of a particular frequency. It's a lower vibrational frequency than one of acceptance and just a choice for you not to engage with it. The acceptance allows it to be there, and you're not trying to make yourself separate from it, and you just elevate to a frequency that's higher. So you're not engaging with it. They're just kind of on parallel levels. And that's what the guides say. If you there's something you don't like, then acknowledge it. It's a valid option, and then choose something that you do want instead.